It does seem like you're more sanguine this week, and I'm just curious as to why, because yes, we have had some more state closures, some more, businesses being requested to shut down and so on, but at some point fatigue will set in again and people will start to go out in the streets, even in the biggest cities like New York City, so why are you suddenly so much more sanguine?
So I'm not suddenly more sanguine. I was actually trying to give an optimistic note, and sometimes when you think of the gravity of the situation that we're in, people dying, all of us have older relatives, family, et cetera. I got a bit emotional, I would say, on my appearance on TV, a little under a week ago. But I was very encouraged by one. I really feel like the Trump administration is completely up its game from a testing point of view. I think we're getting much more aggressive in terms of co-opting manufacturers. I said in my interview, that Elon Musk should start producing ventilators, and later that day, he tweeted that he'd be happy to produce ventilators. I really feel like the country is coming together. General Motors, Ford, other companies saying they're going to make their manufacturing facilities available to produce medical equipment we need. 3M amping up their production. So it's a combination of sort of what you used to think of almost like they call it the medical industrial complex of our country coming together to address the medical shortages. The Trump administration very aggressively upping its game. Testing, New York testing is up to 10,000, 20,000 tests a day, some number like that. So you see a lot of leadership on a state level. I think Governor Cuomo's done an absolutely outstanding job. And I do, my job is sort of to predict the future. And I think the future it's very, very clear. Once the cat's out of the bag and you have one state falling after another, it doesn't make sense to wait 30 more days and have 30 more states, proceed, seriotomy, so to speak. What you want is at one moment, hard stop, shut as much of the country down as you can in every state, retard the growth of the infection, continue to progress on manufacturing, continue to progress on testing, and then we open the country again. And we don't open the country. Stick with 1 second. We don't open the country with Sting doing a concert for 40,000 people. That stuff's going to have to wait. But we can open a lot of the businesses of the country, and we can do it carefully. You can envision a world in which people take a test and they wear a bracelet that shows that they're not infected. I mean, it's a different world than the world we left. But business can function. The markets recover. Treasury Secretary and hopefully soon the Congress are going to approve very, very important package to protect Americans during this period. I agree with the president that this was one of the greatest economies we've ever had. I would say circa January, which seems like several years ago, and it can be completely rebooted and recovered. And my actions are aligned with what I'm saying. What I mean to say is, this got lost, I think, in my remarks as I talked about the risks if we don't take this approach. But last week I said we were buying stocks. We had originally built a hedge here a couple months ago, not in the stock market, but in the credit market. We realized $2.5 billion, a little bit more, almost $2.6 billion from that hedge. And we're completely out of our hedge. We took that $2.5 billion and we've invested $2.5 billion in equities. And let me just, my lawyers have advised me, just to be clear, my views are today's views. My views could change. It's obviously a very volatile market. We can buy and sell different securities. We could put a hedge on them again in the future. All of that being said, I think the most likely event is we're a long-only investor. We intend to, we believe in the country. I think the country is getting to the right place on this issue, and I feel, real sense of, actually was very encouraged by a call I had with a company that has developed an antibody test that is being used right now in China, is being tested in California, and would be a game changer in terms of taking this invisible enemy and making it visible. The scariest thing about the virus is you don't know where it is, you don't know who has it, you don't know what you could be bringing into your family, into your relatives. Once we address that issue, it's going to be a much calmer environment. Healthy people can certainly return to work in that environment. People at risk can return to work in that environment, and I think we're going to be in a much better place, and you could see a remarkable snapback.
Bill, is that a new long for you? Is that where you put some or all of the $2.5 billion that you raised from the credit hedge into that company that may be making the antibody that may work?
No, that's a smaller company, earlier stage. Actually, it's a new subsidiary of a 30-year-old vaccine company. But it was just interesting to talk to them. The $2.5 billion went into we sold Starbucks around $90 a share. We repurchased it around $60 a share around today's prices. We've got about an 8 or 9% position in Starbucks. We bought more stock in Agilent. We bought a lot more stock in Berkshire Hathaway. We bought more stock in Unfortunately, we couldn't buy Chipotle. It was trading at crazy prices. What's interesting is some companies are actually going to be long-term beneficiaries. It's not just Zoom Technologies, but Chipotle, we think, is going to be a very long-term beneficiary of what's taking place here. Chipotle has an amazing digital app. They've got great delivery. They've got great tasting food. It's inexpensive. You can almost feed an entire family with a couple of burritos. And their customers are now, going more and more online for digital delivery. And they're going to do the revenues today are, obviously less than they were a couple months ago. But fairly quickly, I think people are going to get tired of just necessarily having mom's food, and they want to order in, and they're going to order in during this period. And I think that's true for fast food as well. And so businesses are already adapting. Companies like Lowe's, we bought a lot more stock in Lowe's, a home improvement retailer. Lowe's is considered part of sort of the critical retail infrastructure of the country, along with Home Depot and other hardware stores, because you need to keep them open in order to keep society functioning. So they'll do fine during this period. And again, everyone does better in the event this period is shorter rather than longer. And the key is that you have to set an end date. You can't say we're going into furlough and we'll see you in 9 months. That kills every business. Other company we've been buying is Hilton. Hilton, almost every hotel is effectively shuttered, or the occupancy is down 90 to 100%. But this is one of the great, well-capitalized franchises in the business. And you can see, while people can cancel the room nights overnight, they can also ramp up very, very quickly as we recover out of this. So we're making a huge recovery bet, $2.5 billion in a couple, 10, 12 days of investing, maybe less than that in terms of business days in the market. That's about the most bullish thing we've done. And going from having a very large notional hedge on here, we were at a very large short in the credit markets. We had 97% of that was gone as of this morning, and we took the rest off earlier in the morning. We are all long, no shorts, betting on the country.
Do you have other hedges on now? Are you putting other hedges on now, Bill, and maybe zero hedges?
Zero. We still have some cash. We've got about 15, 16% cash, a number like that, depending on the portfolio. So we do have money to put to work in the event that prices got cheaper again. But we are not short. We are long. We think the prices are extraordinary if we manage through this the correct way. And I guess I just built a lot of confidence over the last week that the president and his team are heading in the right direction. I'd like to see. It was interesting. Steve Bannon, who I'm not sure that I necessarily agree with many things that he said publicly, has made basically a very similar case for what he calls bringing the hammer down for 30 days and then reopening the country. I think that is the right approach. Let's not let each state do it individually with slightly different versions of a plan. Let's pick the best plan from each of the states and then roll it out nationwide. And we have I called it a spring break for America. Yep. A lot of time with family. By the way, a lot of businesses continue. Obviously, healthcare, utilities, telecom, many technology businesses. Everyone who can work from home works from home. Restaurants can continue to deliver food. They can still have pickup.
Sure.
But it's not the U.S. economy that we like and love. But very, very quickly we can go back to a world in which for the healthy people. Take an antibody test, find out that they don't have the disease, they can go back to work. And that world is a world we could be in a month from now.